And welcome. Just housekeeping before we officially start, those with mobile phones, which is everybody these days, if you don't mind just taking the time to put it on silent or turn it off just for the duration of the service. Although this is not in my written speech, I'm gobsmacked that we've got a full church. It's the first time in probably 12 months that that's happened, that people have made the effort to come out and pay their last respects to Jenny, and particularly those ones outside. My apologies that they didn't build the church bigger, but there is plenty of room on a Sunday, just not for occasions like this. As I said, welcome. My name is Brian Walsh, and on behalf of Mrs. Jennifer Miriam Williams, or Jenny, as most of you affectionately knew her, I thank you for coming to this service today. This service is to commemorate Jenny's life and acknowledge her impact and influence on ourselves and the community in general. We're here today to acknowledge the passing of Jenny and extend our deepest sympathy to all of her family, especially to Darren, who has lost his wife, to Colin, Andrew, Benjamin, Jonathan, Brett, Greg and Narelle, who have lost a mother, but to all of you here who have lost a relative or a friend. To commence the service, I would now ask the light of Jenny's life, her grandchildren, to step forward and place some symbols of Jenny's life on the table up here. Each of the grandchildren has their own quilt, handmade with hours and hours of love and care put into each one by Jenny. These quilts are more than just blankets. They represent Jenny's extended family. Just as each quilt benefits from the love and care that you put into its creation, every one of Jenny's children and grandchildren benefited from the hours and hours of love and care devoted to each one of them. These quilts that have just been placed represents Jenny's love for her family, but they also represent much more than that. They are physical symbols that represent our grief. The pain of losing Jenny is intense. They remind us of the depth of our love for her. They represent our courage to confront our sorrow, to comfort each other, to change our lives. These quilts hold our memories of the times we laughed, of the times we cried, of the times we were angry with each other, of the silly things you did, of the care and joy you gave us. These quilts remind us of your love as we enter this day and share the memories of you with our family and friends. We cherish the special place in our hearts that will always be reserved for you. We thank you for the gift your living brought to us. We love you and we remember you. These symbols are for peace, the peace that you have with no more pain, the peace that you have with no more struggles. They represent our hopes and dreams, the hopes that you have for your grandchildren, the dreams that you have for your great-grandchildren, particularly the dream that they grow up to be successful in their own right, but more importantly, that they grow up to find the same love and happiness that you have found in your own life. You will all notice that each quilt is similar. They were all made with the same pair of hands, Jenny's hands, and they all have a similar message on them. That message that is literally put into each quilt is about the love that was put in with every stitch. You'll also notice that each quilt is a different colour, and although you probably cannot see it from where you sat, each quilt has its own style and unique design. So although each quilt was made by Jenny, each one is unique. This is also true of Jenny's descendants. Each one comes from the same place, yet each is different from the others. And Jenny loved her grandchildren for their own unique qualities and was ever the proud man, taking an interest in their lives. I would now ask you to reflect on what Jenny meant to you as we listen to the following song. It was specially chosen by Jenny's family as the lyrics reminded them of Jenny.
Didn't know today would be our last, that I'd have to say goodbye to you so fast. I'm so numb I can't feel anymore. I'm praying you just walk back through that door and tell me that I was only dreaming. You're not really gone as long as I believe. There will be another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight. Always made my troubles feel so small, and you were always there to catch me when I'd fall. In a world where heroes come and go, well, God just took the only one I know. So I'll hold you as close as I can, longing for the day when I see your face again. But until then, God must leave another angel around the throne tonight. Your love lives on inside of me, and I will hold on tight. It's not my place to question, only God knows why. I'm just jealous of the angels around the throne tonight.
As Jenny's family and friends, you will probably understand what I mean when I say it's one of life's ironies, that even as we rejoice that Jenny is now free of pain and is enjoying eternal peace, we also long for her, healthy and well, with all her energy back in this life. Our longings leave us tired and aching inside from grief. But you need not feel that way. As we will hear shortly, Jenny packed an enormous amount of living into her life. And although Jenny has physically left us, she will be walking beside us in our memories and in our hearts. The memories of Jenny you have as a relative or a friend will always be there. And there would be no sorrow in your hearts today if yesterday you had not known the pleasure of Jenny's presence in your life. And although Jenny has left us, she'll be the first to admit that there is a time for everything. Or to quote from the book of Ecclesiastes, for everything there is a season, a time for every occupation under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time for planting, a time for uprooting, a time for tears, a time for laughter, a time for mourning, a time for dancing, a time for searching, a time for losing, a time for conflict, and a time for peace. Throughout Jenny's life, she has experienced many of the states just mentioned. Jenny will now enjoy an eternity of the last mentioned, peace. Jenny is now at peace, freed from all our earthly worries and cares, and unlike those of us who are left behind to suffer the seasons of our hearts, even as you've always accepted the seasons that pass over the fields, we must look on with serenity and learn to accept the winters of our grief. But I'll now ask Liz and Miriam to step forward and to share with us more of Jenny's life.
Jennifer Miriam Williams, better known to us all as Jenny. Jenny was born in Greensboro, Victoria on the 11th of September in 1948. The eldest and only daughter to Bill and Norma, love sister to Peter and Stephen. Jenny grew up on the family fruit growing blocks in Redcliffe, sharing many wonderful times with her brothers and parents, and in her adult years still enjoyed returning home with Jack and her boys. Jenny met Jack Sumner in the mid-1960s. Whilst both working in different banks, love started to blossom over the exchanging of cheques, and they then married in May 1969. Jenny and Jack started their family with the arrival of Colin, followed by Andrew, Ben and John. Both being in the bank, Jenny and Jack found themselves leaving Redcliffe's and heading to Echuca for work, and then they finally went to Benalla, where they would settle with a young family and build their first home in Cosh Avenue. Many years of fun and laughter and neighbourhood friendships were formed in Cosh Avenue, with Jenny's boys often leading the neighbourhood children astray. As a mum of active boys, many of Jenny's days consisted of motorbiking, backyard cricket, fishing, camping, boating, and having to sort out the rough and tumble of the Cosh Ave game. Jenny was involved with many groups and organisations in Benalla, including school and sports committees, the Field Nats and Uniting Church. Jenny enjoyed many weekends of bushwalking, gardening and reading in the outdoors. She was a familiar face at ladies' badminton and the boys' sporting events. Having 4 busy sons, Jenny also became a very familiar face in the emergency department, and these boys certainly put her through her paces. Jenny and Jack, together with Steve and Julie, showed their young families many adventures. Each year, all cousins would be loaded into the family 4-wheel drive and taken off into the outback on family holidays. These are very happy memories for the family, with many stories that could be told. Jenny's work involved home help, bank telling for the State Savings Bank and then the Commonwealth Bank, where she would end up working alongside her husband Jack. Jenny and Jack worked together for 3 years in Benalla before they were transferred to the Commonwealth Bank in Shepparton. This saw the family move out of Cosh Avenue, and Jenny and Jack built a new home in Shepparton. Jenny had a love to create, be it sewing, quilting or gardening, and she put her talent into action and created a warm and loving family home in Shepparton. Sadly, in 1995, Jenny lost her husband Jack after a short battle with cancer. Despite losing Jack, Jenny remained in Shepparton and continued working at the Commonwealth Bank. She drew strength during these hard times from the love of her family and friends and keeping herself busy, including work, the Uniting Church and volunteer groups. Her garden and her neighbour and very close friend Val were always there for Jenny through the tough days, weeks and months that followed. In 1999, Jenny and Daryl's paths would cross. After both having experienced the loss of their loving partners, they found friendship and support in each other's company. This was the beginning of their beautiful and loving relationship and the joining of our 2 families. Jenny made the move to live with Daryl in Strathmerton in 2001, and she instantly got involved in the local community and continued her love of gardening by creating more garden beds in their new family home. Jenny transferred to the Commonwealth Bank in Cobram, and shortly after would end her employment with the Commonwealth Bank and spent the next 3 years working part-time at the Strathmerton Bakery, this connecting her even more with the local community. Jenny and Daryl created a wonderful life together which continued with the love of the outdoors and adventures, including many caravanning trips, outdoor walks and travelling overseas. Some of Jenny's favourite places being England, Scotland and the Lakes District of the UK. No matter where they travelled, you could always find Jenny sitting in a peaceful place, book in hand. There was never a time in life Jenny was ever far from a good book. One of Jenny's greatest joys was spending time with her grandchildren. Precious memories were made for them with sleepovers, cooking pancakes, making dough men, shopping at the op shops, walking the dogs, Bobby, George, Minty, Buffy and Dasher, walks over to the golf course accompanied by a packed lunch. The scattering of loose change under the swing set at the local park was always a highlight of visit to Nana's, or just simply sitting in her garden enjoying a cup of tea and some fruit cake. In 2004, Jenny and Daryl would marry, surrounded by their adult children and grandchildren in their beautiful back garden, joining us all together, creating one big happy family. Daryl, Jenny, Colin, Andrew, Ben, John, Brett, Greg and Morel, there's a lot of us, with all our partners and 10 grandchildren. The days of caravanning with the Cobram Caravanning Club saw Jenny enjoy many trips away, which made her lifelong friendships and brought so much fun and happiness. Jenny's talents of creativity amazed us all. From knitting to sewing the boys' clothes, the patchwork quilts, she was very clever and resourceful in all her crafts, making all 10 grandchildren their unique and personally made quilts, which they've all brought with them today. Jenny joined many organisations in and around Cobram, playing ladies' pennant bowls on Friday, working at the Uniting Church op shop, helping with the riding of the disabled, ladies' discussion groups, Meals on Wheels and the Lioness Club. Every single one of these groups and organisations brought Jenny so much enjoyment. One of her proudest moments was when she won the Division 2 Premiership of Cobram's Bowls Club, and Jenny was also awarded the Chris August Memorial Award for outstanding contribution and support to the Lioness Club of Strathmerton and the community. In 2010, Jenny received the devastating news that she had terminal kidney cancer, and despite this, she continued the next 10 years of overcoming the cancers and all of its battles, including years of scans, treatments, needles, and the occasional swap welding. The positivity and drawing upon each other's strengths was a credit to both Jenny and Daryl, as they kept smiling and kept themselves involved in the community and living each day with positivity and humour. 2015, Jenny and Daryl would make the decision to build their own home in Cobram to be closer to all the services as they grew into their retirement. Upon building their house, Daryl set one condition, and it was that Daryl would design the shed on the block and the house and the garden would have to just fit around it. So she just had to agree. Through Jenny's years of treatment, the greatest distraction was the creation of their garden, as many hours were spent planting plants, even if there was no soil to physically fit it. However, they found room. The outdoors was always Jenny's release, from pottering in the garden to walking along the Murray River with Dasher. Little Dasher brought her so much enjoyment. They had very special bonds through her good days and her bad days. Wherever Jenny resided, it was known that the door was always open. Catering for 10 meant there was food for 30, and there was always food galore at every family catch-up. The pantry was full of bickies, her beloved fruitcake always stocked, and the cake tin was never empty, the kettle always on. Jenny Williams, a life lived with love, fun and courage, we will all miss you. From your boys. Mum, we grew up thinking we had a normal childhood. Looking back later in life, we realised we had an exceptional childhood. Forever in our hearts and thoughts, love all your boys.
Thank you for choosing our family to continue your life with 23 years ago. You brought the light and love back into our lives at a time when we were trying to start again with the loss of our mum and dad's wife. The fun, the laughter, the special bonds that each one of us formed with you is something we will cherish forever, and you'll always be remembered as our Jenny and our Jenny. Thank you for being by our dad's side through everything in life. You continued the values of our family, guiding us all through life with support, guidance, love and laughter. Jen, we will always look after your Daryl and your Dasha. Rest peacefully now. We love you.
And now, Maddie Summer.
I'm grateful for being able to talk about Nanny June today, and I hope I can make her proud. My sisters and I were lucky to make the trip and visit Nan on occasion. When we were younger, it was usually for a few days. In the mornings, we would make homemade pancakes from scratch, adding hilariously varying amounts of ingredients, eggshells included. Nan wouldn't mention it. Instead, she'd share our creations alongside her loving hospitality and maybe some playful banter. Every day would either be spent walking, off shopping, or simply enjoying time at Nan's house with toys, Lego, and a game of Rummy Cup together. Nan always brought the family together. Heading out for a walk was the best by far, following Nan and Daryl through the back garden, under the fence, and out towards the park. Their dog Buffy would be trailing behind, not missing a single drain pipe. We knew this park very well. It went by many names, but always had this amazing hidden treasure in the form of spare change. It was incredible. Every time we visited, there was at least $20 in coins scattered amongst the park, and even Nan would sometimes call us over after finding some. Strangely, she'd always let us keep hers. There was no other park like it, unfortunately, just as there's only one of our Nan. There's many stories I'm sure we all remember, with many having profound lasting impacts. I can't go into an op shop and not fondly remember all the times we went with Nan, and I'm pretty sure my wardrobe is partly inspired by her. I already miss those walks, the pancakes and the op shopping. Now I miss them even more. I'll also miss those chainmail emails with the funny videos in my inbox. I'm sure many of us here today will have received these over Nan's internet years. I'll miss a lot, just as we all will. But these memories, our memories, will be forever treasured in our hearts. We're all lucky to be Nan's grandchildren. I'd like to finish with a poem inspired by Jodie Mark. It's only been a few minutes, but seems like an eternity to me. I miss my Nanny Jenny already, and I wish she could have stayed here with me. It's only been a few hours, but I've shed a million tears. But I wouldn't give her to say my name, it's her voice I long to hear. It's only been a few days, but my heart aches so bad. I know she would say, please don't be so sad. It'll only be a few weeks, but I can't help wonder if she knew I was there, and how much I miss her, and how much I really cared. It'll only be a few months, but I'll still be wondering why. Why couldn't you wait for me to say I love you and goodbye? It'll only be a few years, but I'll always smile and sometimes cry. And I remember the 25 years of memories I shared with my Nanny Jenny, I love you and goodbye.
Thank you, girls. We've heard some parts of Jenny's story. And I've now asked you to cast your minds back through time to remember Jenny as we watch a slideshow of memories of her life. When you look at the photos, you see a life well lived. I've got a remembrance verse that's printed in your books, and I'll read it now. The light is from our household gone. A voice we loved is still. A place is vacant in our home, which never can be filled. We have to mourn the loss of one we did our best to save. Beloved on earth, regretted still, remembered in the grave. 'Twas hard to part with one so dear. We little thought the time was near. Farewell, dear one, your life is past. Our love for you till the end will last. As you heard in the eulogy and as you saw from the slideshow, all of us have multiple titles and roles in life. When you think of Jenny, some of you will remember the Jenny that started life as a newborn child. Some will remember the Jenny who studied hard to further her education. Some will remember the Jenny who was a devoted wife. Yet others will remember Jenny who was a loving mother and grandmother. Others still will remember the dedicated member of the church, the bowling club, the Strathmerton Lioness, the regular park run enthusiast, or the riding for the disabled helper. All that sums up that Jenny, in one sentence, she was a beautiful woman who sowed love into every stitch of her life. And we must remember, we're here today, not because Jenny has died, but because Jenny has lived. And during her time on earth, she shared her life with us. And although her life has ended, it has been filled with love, laughter, and adventure. In the 72 years of Jenny's life, there are over 26,000 days and nights. And I'm sure when you leave this service today, Jenny would much prefer that you remembered the hundreds, and for some of you thousands, of days and nights you shared, rather than the one day in more than 26,000 that she died. In the context of how long we live, Jenny lived a reasonably long life. Her death is a very small part of that life. Or in the words of Canon Henry Scott Holland, death is nothing at all. I have only slipped away into the next room. I am I and you are you. Whatever we were to each other, that we still are. Call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way that you used to. Put no difference into your tone. Wear no forced air of solemnity or sorrow. Laugh as we all always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me. Pray for me. Let my name be ever the household word it always was. Let it be spoken without effect, without the ghost of a shadow on it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. There is an absolutely unbroken continuity. What is death but a negligible accident? Why should I be out of mind because I'm out of sight? I am waiting for you, for an interval, somewhere near, just around the corner. All is well. I would now ask you to join with me as we pray for Jenny in the words of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So, dear Lord, today we lift up our hearts in gratitude for the life of Jenny, for all the kindness she displayed during her life, for all that she was to those who loved her, and for everything in her life that reflected your goodness and love. May we rejoice in Jenny's life, be thankful that her life touched on ours. Surround us and all that mourn today with your continuing compassion. Do not let grief be without end or overwhelm us, but rather draw us closer together in faith and love. Amen. We're now drawing close to the conclusion of this service for Jenny. So before we end, I would like to thank you for your attendance here today and invite you to join with Jenny's family in the church hall just adjacent here to share refreshments and, more importantly, your memories of Jenny with them. And now for the final words that are printed in the booklet. As we look back over time and thinking of Jenny, we find ourselves wondering, did we remember to thank you enough for all you've done for us, for all the times you were by our sides, to help us and support us, to celebrate our successes, to understand our problems and accept our defeats, or for teaching us by your example the value of hard work, good judgment, courage and integrity. We wonder if we thanked you for the sacrifices you made to let us have the very best, and for the simple things like laughter, smiles, hugs, and things we shared. If we have ever forgotten to show our gratitude enough for these things you did, we're thanking you now, Jenny, and we hope you knew all along how much we loved you and how much you meant to us. But now we come to the end, remembering that death is not extinguishing the light, it is only putting out the lamp because the dawn has come. We are grateful for the life that Jenny has lived and for all that her life has meant to us. But it is now time to take our leave of Jenny, whom we'll always remember with great warmth and appreciation. We return to our daily lives, resolved to follow her example of courage and sharing, to live our lives more fully with the same integrity and purpose, cheerfulness and love. Jenny, you'll be forever in the memories of all who knew and loved you, and it is with this final goodbye to you that all of us here say, we will remember you until we meet again. Thank you. And I've now asked the grandchildren and their families to stand up to collect their quilts as we play a final song to remember Jenny and her love of garden, Heaven's Garden.
Tell me you had a garden. Could you take my mama there? Walk her slowly to your flower bed. Pick her roses for all the ones unsaid. It's her take on her soft carry her if her legs are weak. Please tell her I'm okay down here. Does she see me? Can she hear? I've heard it as a guard. Angels singing on the night Bethlehem. I'll be in the car. Would you take my body? She left me with memories they don't know. Her gentle love was a wonder to behold. I asked her to sing her favorite song.
Thank you.